Hi guys, and welcome to my first YouTube video. As some of you watching may know, I'm Chloe and I'm the face behind this YouTube channel, and I'll also link my Instagram account up here and below so you can go across and follow. Since the start of lockdown, I've been posting content on my Instagram page at SignWithChloe1. There has been Makaton related information, cooking videos, song videos, and signs of the day, and all different sign related videos. You can also find those videos posted in my playlist below in my YouTube channel. So this video is going to be all work related. It's going to be related to my work, the health and social industry, and whether assumptions online are myths or facts. So I've gone online and typed in the most common assumptions about social care. Now, I already had some in my head because obviously people say them to me when I say I work or have done in the past worked in the industry. So I've gone online for the most common assumptions about health and social care, and I'm going to talk with them through you and put them in the category truth or false and go from there. So yeah, let's get into the first one. With that first assumption. Challenging behaviour means you'll be beat up all day. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, challenging behaviour is a term you'll hear in social care quite a lot. I'll put a screenshot here because I actually done a post on this on my Instagram explaining about challenging behaviour. And from the post you'll know challenging behaviour can mean a wide range of things. It can mean physical aggression, but it can mean verbal abuse, emotional abuse, sexually inappropriate behaviour, refusal, addiction, compulsions. There are so many things that come under the category challenging, not just physical aggression. So no, that is definitely a myth. Just because you work with challenging behaviour doesn't mean you're going to be beat up all day. And like myself, who does work with challenging behaviour, you are trained a thing called PBS, positive behavioural support, and they'll teach you ways in which to respond appropriately to situations where somebody is being physically aggressive to yourself. So yeah, I'm not saying you're never going to come home with a cut or a bruise or a pinch or something, you know, when you work in the industry, but it's not something that, you know, should happen all the time anyway. And if it is, something needs to be looked at because something's not right in that situation or with that person. Something's obviously upsetting them repeatedly where something needs to be looked at. But that is definitely going to go in the myth box. Assumption number 2. You can only work in health and social care if you have qualifications. For this one, it's a bit of both really. There's truth in it and there's not, because I mean I haven't got any relevant qualifications to the industry. I mean the closest thing I've got is an E in AS psychology, which wouldn't have helped me in any way really. But if you're wanting to like start out to get experience as like a support worker, which I did, or a carer, you don't need any relevant qualifications. I mean, obviously it might go in your favour if you've got an MVQ or something in health and social care, but it's not the be-all and end-all in these sort of jobs. They really look at the person and their values and principles. I mean, if you were going for a higher position for like a social worker, for instance, then yeah, you would need specific qualifications for that sort of job, because that job requires obviously a bit more knowledge about legislation and things like that. But yeah, that one's probably a bit of both really. The next assumption is social care is badly paid. I hear this all the time, and sometimes of people who actually work in the industry themselves. I think this is a myth. I mean, I'm 22. I've got a 3-bed house which I own. I own my own car. I go on nice holidays. And I'm comfortable with money and the wage I get. It does depend on who you work for. I mean, all across health and social, you'll get paid minimum wage anyway, but it will differ because companies can pay you the minimum wage, but they can also pay you a little bit higher as like a bit of an incentive. So, for example, I work for the local authority, Cardiff Council, and they do pay probably one of the best paying in the health and social care industry, I'd say, across Cardiff, but per hour they pay a lot more than the minimum wage. Again, you can work for an agency, or you could work for a private healthcare company or local authority like I have, and I've worked across all three, and there is a difference in pay across the three usually, depending what company you work for, but you're not badly paid. It's a good wage, and it's good to know as well, if you work in the industry, you get a lot of incentives. So you get, if you use your car for work, you get your mileage backs, a part of it per mile. You also get allowances. This depends on what company you work for, mind. I mean, for my works particularly, you get, because we don't get a lunch hour, we have a working lunch, so we never clock off or go into a staff room. Whoever we support, we're with them all day. So we don't have a choice where we go for lunch. It's up to the individual, and we eat where they do with them. So we get part of our lunch back in cash, obviously in our wages, and we get money towards 2 drinks a day as well. So if you add that up, you actually, on top of your wage, you still get, a decent wage. So assumption number 4 is social care is only about personal care and working with old people. This is the myth. Obviously, you can work in health and social and work with older people and the elderly, but that's not the be all and end all. I mean, I work with people who are older than me a lot of the time, but are still young. I mean, in the school I work in, it's primarily for children and young adults with disabilities, and that goes from ages 4 up until 19. So you can work with young children, you can work in children's services, or you could work in adult services. So yeah, it just depends who you work with. But the personal care side, well, it's not all about personal care, but there's probably going to be some element of your day where you are doing personal care, whether that's just prompting someone, or changing someone, or feeding someone, or some kind of medication, feeding, dressing, washing, it can be. And again, personal care is such a broad subject, so, and that depends on what industry and what environment you work in. For instance, when I used to work in supported houses, I was doing the things like washing, showering, feeding. In my current job now, in the day centre, we don't do any showering or anything, but we may do some toileting, prompting. So yeah, personal care is going to come into the job at some point, but is not the be all and end all of the day. That's just an element of the day. So yeah, that's false, but you can work with old people and you can work doing personal care, but that's not the be all and end all. So this is our last assumption, guys. You feel emotionally drained after a shift. I mean, if I had to pick one category, yeah, it would go in the truth one. But it's not all the time. I mean, there's some days, obviously working in an industry, when you're working with vulnerable people, there's going to be days where you're going to come home and feel a bit emotionally drained. You might be working with someone who self-harms, has epilepsy, is palliative care, end of life. Again, challenging behaviour, challenging behaviour, conditions which are, very complex. If you're working with someone with very stringent autism and routine and things, and you've had a day which is totally being thrown off routine, you're probably not going to have the easiest of days and be a little bit emotionally drained when you get home. But it's not the be all and end all. Working in health and social care, yes, you can come home and feel drained, but there's days where you're going to come home and feel emotionally rewarded because you've worked with someone who, I don't know, has done a sign for the first time, has been able to communicate their wants and needs, and there's so many rewarding days which outweigh, the emotionally draining ones, because it's such a nice industry to work in, because the people you work with are just amazing. So yeah, that one's definitely true, but just not all the time. Hi guys, so that's the end of my assumptions about health and social care, myths or facts. If you're wondering why I'm in a totally different angle, I basically forgot to film an end of the video earlier, and it's 11 o'clock and I've actually got pyjama bottoms on and just had to chuck my headbands and my top that I was wearing on earlier. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you've all learned something new, even if it's one thing, you know, about health and social care. It's just nice to educate you guys a little bit. So if you enjoyed, please give this video a thumbs up below and subscribe to my page, because I've got lots of fun videos coming up who will be good for anybody to watch who work in the health and social industry, people who don't, parents who've got children with autism, and I've got some fun cooking videos coming up which you guys can use. So yeah, thanks guys.